Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the noise, the reports, the data. Basically a whole stack of sources to pull out what you really need to know.
That's the goal.
And today, we're diving into something that affects, well, pretty much everyone. The U.S. restaurant scene. We've got a bunch of recent analyses pointing to a real downturn.
Yeah, some significant shifts happening.
So our mission here is to unpack all that, connect the dots from these sources, and give you a clear sense of what's actually going on for diners and for the businesses themselves. All right, let's jump right in. The headline number is pretty stark. U.S. restaurant and bar spending took its biggest hit in 2 years. We're talking a 0.9% drop just in May.
Which is substantial. And what's really telling, based on the sources we looked at, is that this isn't just a one-off bad month.
Right, it feels like part of a pattern.
Exactly. Sales have actually dipped 3 times over the past year, and that May drop. It was the biggest pullback in overall retail sales since January 2023.
Wow.
And zooming out even more, the top 500 chains. They saw their slowest sales growth in a decade in 2024. And last year, almost 40% of all U.S. restaurants reported falling sales.
40%.
Yeah. Even the big established chains weren't immune. They saw drops in sales and, importantly, foot traffic early this year, which is pretty unusual for them. It suggests something more systemic.
Okay, that definitely paints a picture of, well, a struggle.
So what's the real story behind these numbers? Why is this happening now? Is it just inflation finally catching up with people?
That's definitely a huge part of it. The sources consistently point to high inflation and those rising menu prices really putting the squeeze on household budgets. It's leading to what some analysts are calling price fatigue.
Price fatigue. I think we can all relate to that.
Absolutely. It's not just the initial shock of a higher price anymore. It's the cumulative effect, Dining out starts to feel less like a casual treat and more like a luxury spend.
People are just prioritizing cutting back. Precisely. Essentials come first, and that discretionary spending on restaurants gets hit. And the industry mood reflects this pessimism. One source mentioned only about 20% of restaurant operators actually expect the economy to get better in 2025.
Only 20%. Oof. So, okay, consumers are feeling the pinch. Let's flip to the other side. What about the restaurant owners? What are the biggest hurdles they're facing, according to the data?
Well, unsurprising maybe, but rising costs shot right to the top of their list of challenges for 2025. And the sources show it jumped significantly compared to the previous year.
More than just food costs, I assume. Labor, rent.
Everything. Food, labor, energy, rent. It all adds up and really eats into their margins, making it harder to, invest or even just maintain things.
And this wider financial pressure. Wasn't there something about Fitch ratings?
Yeah, that's a big one. Fitch actually downgraded the whole restaurant industry outlook to deteriorating back in May. That's a pretty strong signal of widespread financial stress. Not just a blip, but potentially a longer-term issue.
Deteriorating. What does that mean in practical terms? Lower spending.
They're forecasting a decline in overall spending, maybe low single digits annually. But crucially, they expect average checks, how much people spend per visit, to stay flat, while traffic, the number of people actually coming in, keeps dropping.
So prices aren't going up enough to cover the fact that fewer people are dining out.
Exactly. That's the core problem right there for many places.
So we see the pressure on businesses. How are diners changing their habits? Are they just staying home, or is it more nuanced, like choosing different types of restaurants?
It's definitely nuanced. The data points strongly towards a trading down trend.
Trading down, meaning?
Meaning those full-service places, your nicer sit-down restaurants, both fine dining and casual. They're feeling the most heat. People are shifting towards options they see as better value.
So fast casual, quick service? Those places might be doing okay, or even better.
Those value-oriented segments are actually seeing demand grow in some cases.
Yeah.
It seems like people still want to eat out, but they're making very conscious choices about cost versus perceived value. The price hikes at mid-range and higher-end places just aren't keeping people in the door like they used to.
That makes sense. It becomes a calculation, doesn't it? Is this meal worth this price?
Absolutely. That's the question diners are asking.
So given all this, the cost pressures, the trading down, how are restaurants fighting back? What are the successful ones doing to well, survive and maybe even thrive.
Adaptation is key, obviously. The sources highlight a few main strategies. First, really boosting their digital Game Better websites, strong social media presence, easier online ordering, basically meeting customers where they are now.
Right. The online experience matters more than ever.
Definitely. Second, creating genuinely appealing value offers, not just cheap stuff, but deals that feel smart and worthwhile to those price-conscious customers.
And controlling costs, I imagine.
Strategic cost control is crucial, but it's a balancing act. You have to cut costs without hurting the quality or the service too much. And it's tough because other challenges are looming, like potential new tariffs adding to costs, and those ongoing labor shortages aren't going away either. It really squeezes margins.
It sounds like a real tightrope walk for the industry right now. You've got these big economic forces, changing diner preferences. It's a lot to juggle.
It really is. It's a period of significant change, no doubt about it. Success seems to depend on being nimble, really understanding that customer focus on value, and preparing for whenever things eventually start to look up again.
So adapting now, but with an eye on the future recovery.
Exactly. And it leaves us, and you listening, with something to think about. How are these big shifts playing out right where you live? Are you seeing restaurants change? And what kinds of new ideas or innovations might actually come out of this challenging time? Maybe we'll see some unexpected creativity emerge.